nice if you can like, look at the metadata for an app and say, I know Apple has put this in the productivity section. I'll give an example. Like Reddit is in reading and information. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I kind of view that more as social network, even though
Yes.
it is reference based, I guess. So like I'd like to just recategorize it there. But on top of that, what I think might work well is if on the home screen, you can now keep multiple apps, multiple of the same app on the home screen. So if you wanted to have,
Really?
you know, yes, I haven't tested myself, but I've been told this. So,
Okay.
please correct me if I'm wrong. Um, if you can have like multiple instances of the same app on the home screen, it'd be nice if you could say, okay, I know Apple's sorting Reddit by reading and information or reference and information, whatever it's called. But I also want it to be in the social networking tab. If it just kind of keeps it in both, why not? It's an alias. I don't think that'd be hard
Okay.
to figure out. I think
I,
that would work pretty well.
yeah. I agree with you. And it like I look at it the same exact way that how you described it. Sometimes where I might find something and it's in the category of like productivity, I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? That's probably social. And if I want to be granular, not granular, if I want to be a little bit more broad and do my what do they call the time-based restrictions? Um, oh my gosh,
Screen time.
screen time. Yeah, thank you. If I want to do screen time and not allow certain types of apps, right, that doesn't work. So that's just my preference. But I didn't know that you could have more than one instance of the app on a home screen. I'm going to try it right now because I have my iPad right in front of me.
Yeah,
And
I
what
would love to know.
and I really really like the big widgets. Like them a
Yes.
lot.
They're
Yeah,
really nice looking.
yeah.
I
I
use the
can't.
Game Center one and I use the Apple TV one.
Yes. So, so I was. We'll talk about this more in just a second. I was like customizing the focus time or focuses, and for one of the focuses, I have gaming, where like if I, connect my backbone controller to my iPhone, it goes into gaming mode, so I can play games. I'm like, well, I'm thinking about this, like, oh, well, I probably want to see my friends on Game Center. I'm like, I'm gonna add Holden. I'm like, no, 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 he wouldn't do it. I'm just playing around. But I think that the like now playing the who's playing what game, that's really cool. That's a lot of fun.
The launcher is good too. There's one that just kind of shows you some apps or some games you've been using recently, and you
Yes,
can jump into them. And they have nice little backgrounds that are based on the app icon, and they look fantastic. They look really
they,
good.
they do look fantastic. And I actually downloaded the Animal Crossing version or New Horizons version
For
for
Pocket
iPad.
Camp,
Yeah, Pocket Camp. I haven't had the chance to play it yet, but I did download it. I'm like, oh, this should be good. I can't get the second app to show on the home screen. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just not doing it right, but whatever.
let me, let me try it on mine.
Uh,
Um, I wish I haven't played with the focuses a lot yet, and I would like to.
the focuses are top notch. That is probably my second favorite feature because here. Well, I guess let me explain in case anyone's listening who's not familiar with them. So there are these predefined focus modes, and it builds upon the do not disturb mode, like do not disturb while driving or do not disturb while sleeping, that were out in I think iOS 11 and iOS 13. And you can add customized focus modes, or you can add your own focus modes for whenever you're doing something. So you could say, if when I'm driving, maybe I want do not disturb turned on. If I'm working out, or if I start a workout on my Apple Watch, turn on do not disturb on my phone, but only allow certain people to come in from from maybe say a messaging perspective. Same thing with gaming, how I described. But also you can customize it to the fact where if let's say you enter your personal mode, I'm sorry, your personal focus, you can only see certain home screens. And maybe you only want to see certain apps, like you don't see your work apps while you're on personal, or vice versa. Or when you get to a location, your focus mode changes, and that is very very cool. And what is great is that the focus mode syncs across devices. So if you set it up on your iPhone or your iPad, it goes all the way across your devices. So the one of the problems I described to you that I had was if I enter theater mode and do not disturb on my Apple Watch, it doesn't always go to my iPhone or it doesn't go to my iPad or anything else. Well, now that all syncs, which is great, and I'm a happy camper for
That
that
is
one.
huge.
Yep.
Now,
That
and
is
the reason I haven't used Focus specifically is I only have this on my iPad. And I
okay.
generally only use my iPad for such a specific set of tasks that it's kind of like always in focus mode.
Okay.
Like I even go as far as just turning off all notifications on my iPad because I'm like, I'll get it on my watch, I'll get it on my phone. I don't need notifications on my iPad. So like, there's not really a need for me to have
Hmm.
that on my just my iPad, but on the iPhone, that sounds incredible. My dad is doing the same thing. He had a different home screen for each kind of
Yeah.
task he can do. Here's
Yeah.
here's my question for you. Can you? It sounds like it's contextually based as well. Is it time
Hmm.
based? Could you say between these hours have this focus on?
Yep. So what you can do is here, I'm just looking at it right now. So you can, if let's just say you change a focus mode from from either like no focus mode into a focus mode. You could say, I want it for 1 hour. I want it for until tomorrow morning. I want it until I leave this vacation. The gaming one is the same thing. If there's an event on your calendar, like I had a flight last week, and that then my focus mode for Do Not Disturb was turn on Do Not Disturb until the end of this event. And Siri actually found the event on my calendar. So that was actually kind of, I know that was something that was done in maybe proactive iOS 10, but now it's more integrated with these focus modes, which is actually very cool. And yes, you can
Interesting.
customize, you could customize it as well.
Good. Okay, yeah. Because what I would like to do is say, hey, between the hours of 8 in the morning and 5 o'clock at night, I am in work mode, and I want to only see work related stuff.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't want to see my games. I don't want to see Twitter. I don't want to see these things because they'll distract me. And if I could just say every day between 8 and 5, not like in screen timing, it's a downtime.
Yeah, let me
Um,
see. So let's see
I'd
here.
like to be able to do that. That would be ideal for me.
I haven't set up the work one yet because I don't have my work email on my personal device. I have a device from work. So you can do smart activation. You could have it do set time, set location, or while using a specific app, or smart activation where it kind of just if you whenever you connect this to your this is the backbone controller, or whenever maybe you connect to a certain accessory or a certain Bluetooth accessory, same thing. So yes, you could. Let's see here. So that is a great get out of driving mode. I don't know why. That so the focus modes are to me a real big step forward in being able to, I think, customize. Well, I mean, absolutely customize your device and your experience. And it seems like maybe Apple might be heading in the direction where you have a set of apps and a set of functionality that you do for one thing, which is specifically work, and then when you leave work or when you're not in your work context, you don't see any of that, and you're not, you're not not subtracted. You're not bothered by that, or you're not losing focus on that. So, which is really cool from a, I guess, a function, not functional, from a productivity standpoint. I like that a lot.
It's like work life balance as well.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see here. One of the things that was big this year was shortcuts, and the work that was done with shortcuts, and then now bringing it to the Mac as well. I haven't had an opportunity to play with shortcuts on my iPad as much as I'd like to, nor have I installed this on my Mac. I just think that's reckless at this point. Um, have you played with short? I know you do use shortcuts a lot, but have you had a chance to play with the new shortcuts?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I at this point I played with my shortcuts to kind of get some things that I wanted,
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't really touched it since. The last time I touched it was when you told me about the whole battery thing, and I'm like, oh, that's amazing. I want to do
Yeah.
that. Um, I love that
For,
feature. But I
for
kind of want to wait till I get the Mac version and play around with that one because that's going to be so powerful compared to what you can do in iOS. I am
yes,
very excited for that.
we've talked personally, or not personally, but we've talked off the air in terms of like things like Keyboard Maestro and Alfred, and it seems like a lot of that functionality is being not scooped in, but being pulled in to the new Shortcuts app in terms of what you can do with, say, if you do something at 8 o'clock every, once a week or every day, that those things will automatically run where they maybe were not possible using the standard automation tools within Automator on Mac. So, but that's really great. what was the other thing here? The Find My. There's now more granular and more broad Find My, where like you can pin someone to your home screen. So not only can you have all these different widgets, but you could get like streaming updates for someone's location or an item all the time. And if you have like I have my device, my iPad here set up. If I leave my house, I get a notification saying, "Oh, you left your iPad at your house. Do you want to get notified of this?" Like that's actually kind of cool too as well. Yeah. So if you were to go somewhere and leave your computer somewhere where you normally don't, you'll get notified that it left it behind. Let's see here.
Especially for parents who have parental controls turned on their kids' phones and want to kind of keep track of them, that's a better way of handling that for sure.
Yeah. That absolutely is. Clear all notifications. Yeah, I really like the new focus modes a lot. Let's maybe talk about the integration with FaceTime, messages, and SharePlay. So on stage, Apple demonstrated this, what would be like ripe for the pandemic feature, where you can consume content, or when I say content, kind of broadly speaking, television, movies, songs with your friends via FaceTime. And FaceTime is the technology that allows people to share it together all at the same time, which is really kind of a cool idea, but it seems a little bit late. I don't know. Maybe it's just me thinking about it. What were your thoughts on SharePlay? I guess, do you have anything more broadly?
I agree that it's a little late in terms of like pandemic response and that kind of stuff. So is unlock with your mask on Apple Watch.
Yes.
But software takes time. Got to make sure it works right. But I do think it's still necessary because watch parties are still a thing, and being able to watch like HBO or Disney Plus with some friends and have it sync up. I can't remember which ones do it, which ones don't. But the point is that not all of them do. And I think it makes more sense for something like that to be on the platform level rather than on the service level.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think it just makes more sense for Apple to do that than it does for the other companies. So for that reason, I'm excited. Listening to music while talking is less, I think, important to me, but sharing a screen and saying like, hey, like look at this note or look at what's on my screen right now, like that's super useful. I really like that. And then like the whole watch party thing, I'm excited for that because when I was visiting my family in Texas, my brother and my dad and I started watching Mr. Robot, but we never got to finish the show. And we're like, well, let's wait until SharePlay comes out so you can kind of watch it all together. Like that will be a lot of fun. So it's going to be nice, especially with some of the Apple TV shows that are coming out, like Invasion, which looks really good. And I'm curious for that one. Like that's the kind of stuff my dad and I eat up. Like I'm totally going to watch that with him.
Yeah.
It's cool that I can do that now.
It is cool. And it works not just on your iPhone, but I think it works on an Apple TV as well. So like if you can do this. Yeah. So, we had talked about, it's got to be at least six or 8 weeks ago, we had talked about there were these hints of FaceTime coming to the Apple TV, and like why did Apple include this in the frameworks? And now kind of in hindsight we start to put the dots together of why this is being brought in. Now who knows whether they'll actually make like a dedicated Apple TV, like a television box, but the Apple TV as a platform, if that's the case, I guess it makes sense. That's what I was just trying to really long-winded answer to.
I didn't even put it together, but you're right. That is 100% the reason why they did that. Absolutely why.
Yeah. So that is very cool. I don't know if I'm ever going to get off this, but FaceTime as a communication tool would really work well in a gaming service if you wanted to game with people. So we talk about watch party and being able to watch what I do. It'd be really cool in iOS 15, iPadOS 15 if you had gaming with friends and you could all play games, and there was this thread which is going to be FaceTime that ties it all together, because if you look at these, if you look at PlayStation, Xbox, they all have a communication layer, which is like Discord. That's probably the more popular one, I think, or Xbox Chat. What do they call it? Xbox Party Chat or something like that?
It's Party Chat on PlayStation. I don't know what it's called on Xbox.
Yeah. Okay. But Apple, if they really want to get into gaming, they're missing this, and it looks like they're trying to, at least at the very beginning, of pulling that thread through of all these different services. So the fall will be very interesting. I'm sure of that. I am sure of that. Really looking forward to what they do with gaming. But you've heard me say that 100 times.
Yeah, I'd be curious if they get involved. I kind of go back and forth if it's going to happen or not. It would make sense for them to, but then I was like, well, then it also wouldn't make sense for them to, and I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, so
but I think that they would do something unique and it would work well.
I agree with you, and I think as a their driving force in, I think, wanting to get into gaming or in any of the areas that you see them in today is how do they differentiate the experience with the technology that they bring to the table, and technology kind of broadly of just hardware and software. And that's why I think that they would that gaming is something they would look at, because for the most part, while some companies do hardware well, I don't know if they do hardware great. You know what I mean? Like, that's the part where I think I kind of struggle with. I do think the PS5 is a great hardware platform, but I think that maybe because that's not Apple's core competency, gaming's not like something that they're into, or they're not into traditionally, that they would look at it differently than I think Sony or Microsoft would. But that's just me thinking.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect there. It's one of the it's a huge enigma. I can see them doing the thing where their specs aren't as good, but because it's all integrated, they can somehow get like way more performance out of it, and they can make their box much smaller. So like, I can see them kind of playing that game that they play with Macs and that kind of stuff.
Yes, and I don't know if
metal and all that would be huge too.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw this, but they're also. It's not to do with gaming specifically, but now they're supporting 1440p monitors on Mac OS. So, which obviously, a lot of people who do gaming, they have monitors that are not just 1080p. They have 1440p monitors at high refresh rates. Mm-hmm. So the adoption of that doesn't necessarily mean that they're doing it, but it is a step in the right direction, so to speak.
I didn't know they didn't support 1440p monitors. That's interesting.
No. So high refresh rate.
I'm assuming you could use one, but it would just present in 1080p. Or would it go to 4K but not show the full resolution?
It scales. So I think
okay.
They're going to do it natively without scaling. That's my understanding.
Okay.
Did you have a chance to watch or to go to any of the WWDC sessions?
I usually don't, because I'm not in that mindset usually when I watch WWDC, but now that all this stuff's free available online, I probably should be watching them. But I always, it completely skips over me, or I skip over them just for whatever reason.
So do you have anything else that you want to talk about in terms of the iPad, things that you're excited about, maybe things that you've noticed over the past couple weeks?
Yeah, I did want to go to what are they calling it? The Swift Playgrounds. Like, you can make an app on your iPad. Because we were kind of talking about like Xcode. Xcode's going to come to iPad, and instead I kind of feel like we got the GarageBand iMovie equivalent to Xcode, but on iPad.
Mm-hmm.
Which, kind of looking back, I'm like, well, you know what? That's actually not hugely surprising.
It's not hugely
I think
surprising.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense, and it kind of plays on that whole like baby steps to get to these pro apps coming to iPad. But I think that is a really important step. Have they, in those additional sessions, have they talked at all about the limitations of that versus Xcode? Because I'm assuming there are some things that you can't do on the iPad that you can only do in Xcode. I'd imagine that there are some things, some restrictions, but I'm curious if you've heard anything, because I haven't heard anything about that, and I'm curious to know them.
I have not dived into the sessions on that very deeply. Actually, not even at all, if I'd be blunt. But what my understanding is that it's not that it's it's not that it's not full support, but I think that there's some limitations where if you're doing it now, you wouldn't be able to create like larger projects. So maybe you would create an asset or a set of assets or an app to run inside of other apps. You know what I mean? Like it's more like the complexity of the project. That's probably how I would think of it. There was a good article on The Verge, which I could send to you. You could read it. But that's how the developers framed the Swift Playgrounds coming to the iPad. And obviously, it's not obviously. So it's not all the iPads that it comes to. I believe, or sorry, I actually don't know if it's coming to all the iPads or not. I guess it would be. Yeah, I guess it would be. Swift Playgrounds. For some reason, I thought it was only coming to the iPad Pro, but that's probably not right.
I'd imagine anything that supports iOS 15 will support that app.
Yeah.
It's a big deal that it exists regardless. I think it's an important step.
It is an important step.
For
Absolutely.
iPad. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, you brought up a good point. So when we discussed where we thought the iPad would go and what we get, we were maybe not double down, but we were pretty strong. We had strong opinions about where Pro Apps meant and what it meant to Apple. And many people, I think the majority of people who I talked to, after they watched WWDC and they saw a lack of response from Apple for Pro Apps on the iPad, they felt like they got ghosted. Like, what did Apple do here? Why are they doing this to us? Where are all these apps that we thought we were going to get, and why is there not this functionality that they're expecting? I don't know if the right way of thinking about it, and I think I had this problem as well. The right way of looking at the iPad Pro specifically is not that they have Apple didn't put the M1, they didn't put a Mac chip in the iPad, they put an iPad chip in the Mac, right? Mm-hmm. So like that's the where we were all had it flipped around. We're like, oh, they're gonna do this. This is for sure because now they're putting this very powerful Mac chip on in an iPad. Well, it's actually not that way. Like it's the other way around, and people had that they were getting really kind of bent around the axle about this, and maybe that's just not the right kind of lens to view the problem through, right? Maybe there's this. Again, I guess to put it bluntly, that it'll be baby steps, like you said, right? It might not be in the ideal version that we're all thinking, but I cannot see any reason for them not to bring either a subset of functionality or the entire functionality, just like Swift Playgrounds. You might not you might not build a very complex app like OmniFocus or like Zoom on your iPad. You might do a small set of functionality like what you would do with this Pro app like Final Cut or whatever the case is on your iPad, and then maybe work that into a bigger project somewhere down the road.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like
I think another way of looking at this too. I agree with everything you said. Other way of looking at this too, this is a little bit of a tangent, but I'll tie it back in, is Apple introduced the Retina display with the iPhone 4, right? But it wasn't until I think 4 years later that they redesigned iOS with like thinner fonts and things like that could only really be appreciated on a Retina display. And they did that once all the devices that were being supported by iOS had a Retina display, or at least the vast majority of them. And they kind of had to wait for that, peak of the install base to have that kind of support. So it might just be that they've introduced the M1 chip now, and then in 3-4 years down the line, when M1 is not even close to the most powerful chip in an iPad, but the capabilities of the M1 are now available to the mass of the iPad install base, then they can start introducing those features. Whereas now, most iPads are basically any iPad sold before the M1 chip came out, isn't going to have that huge jump in performance and that kind of more desktop class performance. So they're just kind of waiting, and they've set themselves up for the future, as opposed to saying we're releasing this and then we're making all the specialized software for it. In a few months.
That's a very good point. We both know that they're not quick to implement their plans. Right, it's usually across several years and small iterations, and everyone thinks it
Mm.
goes. It's instantaneous until you look back at like, oh no, it's not instantaneous. It's taken a long time to do this. So that's a very good point. It's a very good point. I like the your explanation, and the measured approach is certainly understandable. But like, we're consumers, and maybe from in another aspect, we're like kind of like power users. We're like, oh, we want all these features now. We don't want
Yeah,
to wait 3 or 4 years.
of
Um,
course. Yeah. What other tablet are you guys going to get though? Like seriously, like who's competing against Apple and tablets that they feel this pressure to do it? Because it's not Surface, I'll tell you that. I have one, and it's a great PC, but it is not a tablet,
no,
even though it has a touchscreen.
yeah, it's a PC first for sure. It is a PC first.
Yeah, and I don't need to talk about Android tablets because they're not even worth mentioning.
Yeah. Um, I did think that what was interesting, in this is just kind of weird, like the translations app, like that, that's now on the iPad as well. And I think it's interesting that you can do on device, on device Siri, not I guess requests, without having to go to the cloud. I think that's kind of a big benefit.
Yes.
I'm just trying to think like it the to me the Apple Watch is like the biggest pain in the ass when it comes to that. Like, it never works. Like, if you're too far from your phone, it's like, I'm sorry, you're not connected to the internet. Like, why aren't you working? Um, Sorry, that's just me venting my frustration about my Apple Watch. Uh, I don't know if that's a feature that came to the Apple Watch or not, though. I do see, it's for iPad, it's for iPhone, but I don't know if those are.
I think it's limited. I think it's limited to certain iPhones. I think it's because it needs a certain level of processing power from the neural engine specifically.
Okay.
So I don't know if the Apple Watch could handle that, but it should still help with what you're talking about, though, because rather than having to go from Apple Watch to iPhone to the internet and then back to the iPhone to the Apple Watch, it just goes Apple Watch, iPhone, back to
Yeah.
Apple Watch. So it does
Yes.
kind of cut that in half.
Yeah.
So that still is going to be helpful. But you're
Yeah.
right. Doing things like turn on the lights or something like that, which is really handy to do right from your watch. It'd be nice if it was on screen, because that demo of them just going through all of those requests, one after the other, I'm like, wow, that is really, really fast. And it makes me think about machine learning, but I'll talk about that when we talk about live text, because I think it's more relevant to that.
So we can talk about live text whenever you're ready, because I think live text and the image classification is so powerful and so exciting. I think I've said that about
Mm-hmm.
everything we've talked about today. I'm like, oh my god, that's so powerful, so exciting. It's my favorite thing. I have a lot of favorites, but it really is. Where so do you want to give us the introduction to it, or
Yeah.
sure?
Yeah. I was. If you, yeah, okay. So basically, the live text and photo analysis and all that's basically that. If you, let's say you take a picture of a sign, you can copy and paste the text from that sign. It just pulls it out of the image immediately, which means that you could search for a restaurant more easily. You could get directions to that place. If you see like a social media post of a certain restaurant, you don't have to go to Yelp or Maps to find it. You can just do it right from the image itself, which is really cool. But it extends to like the breed of a dog, or you can type into your phone like, oh, I want to see pictures of um, a lake with with a kayak in it, and it will like recognize the objects and pull them in for you. Like, it is incredibly powerful. And what's impressive to me is that machine learning is happening on device, which is amazing. So where I kind of go with the whole machine learning thing, and here's one of my tangents. I'm sorry, I'll come back to it. A few years ago, Google, one of the things that impressed me most about Android was when Google announced the same exact feature. But of
Mm-hmm.
course, their machine learning processing happens on their server and then comes back down to the phone. But Apple
Mm-hmm.
doesn't want to do it that way for privacy reasons and all that kind of stuff. And one thing that I've heard in the context of live edit and kind of commentators post WWDC thoughts is, man, what a cool feature. But Google did that a while ago. And this is true, and it worked really well. I had a Pixel 2 with that feature. It works really well, so I can attest from just using a similar feature. It's very nice to have.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but again, their processing is happening not on device, and that's the real innovation of what Apple did here. It's not so much that they did it; they could have done it server side a long time ago, but they opted to do it on device instead because that's their goal. So I feel like with machine learning, Apple might always be like one or two steps behind,
Mm-hmm.
but it's for that privacy reason. It's so that it is on device. And I think that's a really big deal that they can get that kind of processing directly on the device. I'd rather wait for that because the privacy and keeping things local and not storing every little bit of data about me on a server somewhere is important to me. And so, yes, 2 years late, but I don't think it was because Apple wasn't trying to innovate. I think it's just because this is how they do machine learning. They just do it differently than Google.
I agree with everything that you just said. I don't know if you remember this, but last year in iPadOS 14, Apple introduced the ability to do handwritten notes using Scribble. And then with that handwritten notes, those notes were indexable by the operating system. So,
Yeah.
like if you wrote down, if you wrote down in notes someone's phone number and like call Brian, you could then take that action from your home screen and dial a phone number. It recognizes the digits and the pattern of the numbers. And this is like maybe like the next iteration or the next step of that technology. Like live text is very cool. Like you can search for like what were the examples I've seen where someone is like they type in text that's very very small on a sheet of paper, like 3 feet away from their like not necessarily in the direct line of sight of the camera, and it comes up. I'm like, wow, how does that work? Like that's really cool. And it's just, I mean, it's pretty not revolutionary. Like it's pretty mind-boggling that the machine learning is just doing it on that small of text in images where that's not the primary focus of the camera. I think it's just very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's a big deal.
Yeah, and I think what's even maybe not even cooler, but to add on top of that is where you can now search for it. Not so you don't have to be inside Photos. You could do it just from from Siri or from the Finder button or from Finder from gosh yeah from Spotlight. Thank you. So that is very neat. I'm a big fan of that. I'm all about making things easier. Now I don't know if this necessarily lays the groundwork, continues the groundwork for some type of input device like a pencil coming to the iPhone. I don't know. I would say that maybe it gives a stronger case to it, but whether or not that would be, for certain, I have no idea. But I would like to see a pencil on the iPhone. I think that would be a great addition because you could then use all of these things that kind of work together on these different platforms on just another device that you always carry with you.
Mm-hmm. There's also a really important, I think, accessibility benefit here as well.
Okay, what is
Let's
it?
say you have a visual impairment. So like I have a friend I used to work with in Chicago who was blind, like fully blind, and they had an app that they could use in their phone where they could take a picture of something and then it would tell them what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's kind of a crude story, but he took a part of something not safe for work as like a joke to see if it could recognize that not safe for work thing. And
Oh wow.
it responded back and was like, it is this not safe for work thing that you took a picture of. And then he found out it was actually a person who's like looking at the
Oh
photo
wow.
and then sending the response back. And he was mortified, like, oh my God, I just sent a picture. It was his junk. He sent a picture of his junk to this like random person across the internet to see how well it worked. And
Wow.
and it worked, but it was a person on the other line. But this is like an important thing for him. Like if he's like, hey, like, I need to know if I'm holding the right keys in my hand or something like that. He can take a picture of it, send it off, and they'll respond back to him. But now you could feasibly do that kind of stuff just on
Yeah.
the phone itself. Like that's massive. That's absolutely massive.
That-
I think that really, really is going to be an important feature, especially when, so like I've been learning about, I took a little small course on web development as like a precursor to get into my current C# boot camp. And one of the things they kind of try to lay into you was when you're making a website, put in alt text for everything. So if there's someone with visual needs, that they can still view the content well.
Mm-hmm.
That could literally be automated now. Obviously, I think people should still do that on the site as they're making it. It's not hard work, and it makes a huge difference for people. But like that kind of thing could just be built in, and you could just ask like, "Hey Shlomo, what am I looking at right now?" And it just tells you like the possibilities here are really profound, I think,
Yeah, like
for someone with those needs.
you're totally right. Like when you go to Spotlight, and I just typed in dogs, and it brings back a dozen, or actually not a dozen, 6 pictures of dogs from my photos. Like that's actually kind of cool that it's able to identify that. And I think when you even go in the photo, it tells you what kind of dog it is. If it can do, oh, hold on
Yeah.
a second. Yeah, this is so neat. Huh. Very interesting. Um, wow. It's amazing some of the stuff that they think of.
Hmm.
Like Craig and team, they're all just sitting around a table saying, "What do you got? What do you got?" Like they're like testing out each other's ideas. I love it. I love it. Um, hold on one second here. Anything? Oh wow, that's really cool. So I typed in dogs in Spotlight, and then it even showed me a shared link with Watch Dogs Legion in the title. That's super interesting.
They pull up everything.
Yeah. So what do you think about? I'm trying to think how they reference it or how they position it. So things that have been shared with you. So as you know, I send you a link, I send you a song, we watch a movie together. There's this kind of for you section. I think that's how they probably
Hmm.
frame it. And I don't know if like going to music and seeing like of the 100 songs that people have sent me. By the way, I'm like huge into music, so I have friends that share me like they share songs all the time. But now I have like this whole section of songs. I'm like, oh my god, I don't want to see this. Like it seems like it might be a little cluttered, and I hope they kind of think about refining that a little bit because it's just to me it's not the most ideal way. And I see the same thing appearing like for like news articles and for TV shows. Like I just don't. Maybe I don't want all of that. I don't know about you.
I already have a workflow for that. So like if someone sends me an article and they want me to read it, I have Instapaper. I love Instapaper, and
Okay.
I'll put it in Instapaper, and I go back and check Instapaper all the time. So excuse me, I kind of already have that. I like, does it know if I've already viewed it or not? Am I gonna just see like a bunch of links that are in iMessage that people sent me? So like where I'm going with this is they already have this feature in Safari. So if someone sends you a link in iMessage and then you go to
Mm-hmm.
Safari and like your favorites and frequents underneath
Yep.
that there'll be these are from iMessage. And sometimes I've already viewed the link, or I was the one who sent the link to someone
Yeah.
else and it's
Yes.
showing up there. And I'm like, I don't need to see that. I already knew about it. I'm the one who shared that. So if it's just that system across other apps, I don't
That's
care.
not it. Yeah,
I don't
I
care.
agree.
But maybe I don't know. I don't want to be too pessimistic, but I'm pretty pessimistic on that feature.
Yeah. So what is cool is that now when someone shares, either a single photo or several photos with you, there's that there's the gesture for viewing the photos inside of messages, but also if you go to your photo library, it shows that photo in your photo library and it has a little glyph on the bottom of the photo saying it came from messages. And if you tap into it, you can then tap to the message where that person shared it. It's very cool. It's great actually.
I didn't know about that last part. That is fantastic.
Yes, because how many times
I
do I
like that
get?
a lot.
Yeah, and so how many times does someone send me photos that I forget to save to my library? Right, like it might be a photo that my wife took of my son, but I never, I might forgot to
Yeah.
save it. Now it shows in my library, and then I get the option to save it if I want to, and where the message came from. So that is very very cool. I like that a lot. I know that you're not a big photo photographer or maybe collector of photos, but I collect photos.
No, I'm not. But I can recognize that's a cool feature. I think that's nice because like, oh, who sent this to me again? That's right, it was so and so. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of nice to have tabs on. But even just the grouping of the photos is the little like carousel to swipe through.
Yes.
Fantastic. That is fantastic. Like for example, I had a friend who moved into a new place recently, and he sent a bunch of photos of that place. And it's just nice to kind of swipe through those and still see the conversation on either end, and it doesn't turn into this like other super long list of scrollable stuff that
Yes.
kind of gets in the way at that point. I can just view that content all in one area, just like I would want to anyway. Just one of those. Well, of course it works that way. It's perfect.
Yeah. Now, I don't know. No, sorry, I don't know. Now, what is great is that you're not taken out of like the context of in the message, and you can just view, like you said, you can view those photos in line without being again, removed from that context, which is really nice. It gives you the ability to stay not engaged, but stay in the moment, right? Or sometimes where you like,
Yeah.
oh, it's like how many times you open your phone to look at something, and all of a sudden you've been, at least me, I've been on TikTok for like 40 minutes. Like, oh my god, I put this down. I don't want this. So I like that. I like that a lot. Sorry, I don't know if we talked about this separately or if we talked about it last time, but they did fix, or what is fixed on the iPad OS or on iPad. Let me start that again. So what is fixed now on iPad OS is Thunderbolt 3, where before, from a connectivity perspective, I'm getting way faster speeds on iPad OS with Thunderbolt 3 than I had been getting before. It's actually more in line, more close to the Thunderbolt 3 throughput speeds. Not necessarily like for like, but it is much, much closer than it was. And that is very good because, we talked, how do you deliver Thunderbolt without, like, with this kind of half-baked promise of what Thunderbolt is? Like, it just didn't make sense, but they fixed it.
Yeah. It's at laying the groundwork for the future.
Yeah, laying the groundwork for the future. They still did not take the aspect ratio on external displays and fix that. I don't know if they're ever going to do that, but that 4:3 aspect ratio in or on a display is just, it's infuriating. I don't know. I have no idea what they're doing.
4:3 is the ideal way to view all content, whether it's editing video or anything.
Yeah.
We all view content in 4:3.
What was the one movie there's a movie that just
Being
came out?
sarcastic, to be clear.
No, yeah. There was a movie that came out last year, or maybe it was at the end of 2019. It was with William Dafoe, where
Lighthouse?
Lighthouse. Isn't it like in Rhode Island?
Fantastic.
But it's in 4:3.
I don't know if it is or not, but it looks very much like it's in like a lighthouse by Rhode Island. Yeah, it's 4:3. It works really well for that movie because it's supposed to feel old.
Yes.
Your iPad should not feel old. That's a great movie, by the way. Really good. Fucked up, but good.
So I never see.
Yeah,
that's okay. I never seen it, but it looked like it looked kind of weird. Who's the other actor? It's not Chris Pine. It's
Robert Pattinson.
Thank you. Yeah, the other teen heartthrob. So I never watched it. Like I didn't watch, or I started to watch Zack Snyder's Justice League, like the extended cut, and then it was like 30 minutes. Yeah. I'm like, I can't watch this. It's just too weird looking. And my wife's like, oh, just get through it. I'm like, I don't know.
What's really funny about that actually is I watched that on my iPad, so I'm like, cool. It fills the whole screen perfectly.
Yeah, no, I
but yeah, on a TV, it would be annoying. Yeah,
it would be super annoying. It would be super annoying. Now, hold on one second here. Anything else that you want to add about the iPad specifically? I don't know if you or about the iPhone in terms of iPad OS or iOS 15.
The Maps app.
Oh, okay. I haven't actually had the chance to play with Maps that often.
It is gorgeous. It looks really nice.
Really?
I really like the way it looks. And that's just from using it on my iPad without the fancy 3D stuff that they're doing. But when video of what the 3D looks like, where you can see like overpasses and stuff, and like each lane in the road, I'm like, this is actually really practical.
Wow, it is. I'm actually looking at it on my iPad for the first time. I'm looking at the world view. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. Like the whole idea of seeing which lane you're supposed to be in, because the blue line will be in the right lane, and then it'll also show you that like, hey, this is going to turn into a left-only lane because you can visually see it. That is way more intuitive than what I've seen in other Maps apps, which is like some sort of icon with 4 lines if it's a 4-lane road, and then like the 2 right lanes are a little bit bolder, and like you have to interpret that. And for like, I get it, I can use it, it's fine. But in terms of like the simplicity and it just works, and kind of Apple's mantra of kind of anyone being able to just use it, like they kind of said in like the whole like Epic trials, like we want a toddler to be able to use this. That's immediate. Not that toddlers should drive, obviously, but that's immediately apparent of what the information's trying to tell you. But it's actually kind of skeuomorphic. it works cleanly with the map, and it's beautiful. It's just beautiful. I'm going on a long rant, but it's just beautiful.
So I would say it is beautiful. I would call it easily digestible. Like you can look at it and
Yes.
get a very good sense
Yes.
of what it's trying to tell you. Like there's not a lot of interpretation. Think, okay, what does this mean? Like you don't have to worry about that. It's just easily to understand and look at.
Yeah,
This
it's like,
is
hey, do you know roads? This
yeah
is the
roads.
road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we know there's this paradigm called roads. Are you familiar with this? Like roads. Oh damn. This is really cool.
It's
Wow.
fast and slick, and I love the colors of it. When I kind of heard them say they're doing another redesign for Apple Maps, I'm like, didn't they just do this like 2 years ago? And I don't know. And then I look at it, I'm like, oh, this is so obviously an improvement, though, that I'm totally down for it.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Now, are the new maps rolling out? So let me ask this in a different way. Is this available everywhere, or is this available only like in certain? I know it's obviously if you have iOS or iPadOS 15. Is it only available in certain cities, or is it going to be available everywhere when it comes out?
The
Or do you know?
3D mapping part of it
Yeah.
will be in certain cities,
Okay.
but the design and like the new like color palette and all that kind of stuff, that's
hmm
everywhere. I mean, I live in a really small town in a really small state, so if I have it here, I'd imagine it's everywhere.
Okay. So I'm looking. What is real cool if you happen to go to or happen if you go to Apple Park in Maps and you look at it, like the mapping there looks really cool, and I imagine that's part of what they described on stage and what you're trying to convey here or what you're conveying. Like it's just neat. I like it a lot.
I'm pulling it up right now.
Sure.
I think also it's just easy to look at and to read. Like it's just a
Yeah.
really well made map. They
Yeah.
kind of said in their event, like, we want to make the best map in the world, and I'm like, boy, that sounds like a real Apple statement right there. But I'm looking at this, and I'm like, I think it's the best looking map in the world.
So yeah, this is a great
Yeah, this is
map.
that kind of look good. It's a very good map, yeah. Oh
Yeah.
wow, they even have like structures inside of Apple Park.
Oh, do they really? Where's Tim's office?
Yeah.
Timmy, come out and play. Oh wow, that's interesting. Yeah,
Well,
this
like,
is
even the
pretty.
buildings around it, like, all have a little bit of a 3D presence to them. You can
Yeah.
see like there's like the the road markers are in place. They put little trees down there. I don't think those are actually the real trees that are there. I'm sure they just kind of placed trees with some sort of algorithm. But I
Yeah.
mean, like, you can even see a bike lane, and then there's like it says bike lane. Like, actually, I'll
Yeah.
just take a screenshot of this and send it to you. Like, the information here is so rich, and as you put it, it's easily digestible. So I'm sending it to you right now.
Now, I do like the fact that they have the 6 color band shell, right? Visible in the maps. Let's see here. Yeah, that is really cool. Oh, see, you went. You actually got more detail than my view. I just went. Um, like if you, I'm like stuttering here. Let me just take a picture of this and send it to you. Whoops. Like the band shell that they have that in the center of Apple Park with the 6 colors like on the watch band,
Hmm.
or like in their Apple logo, is present. It's actually just again it's an appropriate level of detail, not only because it's your company and you're looking at the your campus, but it's nice. I wonder how they could like how could they deliver this value add for everyone at scale. Like that seems very challenging, but
Yeah, it'll be slowly rolled out over time, but
mhm.
I mean, the world's not going to change that much if they just stay dedicated to it. They'll get it all done in time.
Yeah, very cool. Um,
Yeah, I'm a big fan of these maps. I love the colors. I really, really like the colors a lot.
oh, cool. They have. They also have look around there, and you can move the little binoculars and get different angles. It's not doesn't take up the entire screen. It's actually kind of like a picture-in-picture frame. That's neat. Very neat. I like it.
Interesting.
Yeah. Um, other than the new maps, I guess I haven't really drove anywhere that I need maps in the past couple weeks. I should just start asking for directions places.
Oh, yeah. You can move the binocular view, like the street view around, and you can see on the map which direction you're facing.
Yes.
You can, oh man, you can also, okay, so you have it like where in the top right hand corner you have like the binocular view where you get the street view, right?
Mm-hmm.
Scroll your finger around the map itself, and you'll actually move that binocular view to that new location it gets centered on, and then it loads up there immediately. That is really slick.
It is really slick.
Wow, I'm impressed. Here's
Yeah.
it. Maybe it was like that before. I don't know, but either way, I like it.
Well, what I think when you went to Street View, or they don't call it Street View, I think it's called Look Around, you almost got taken
Yeah,
out
I
of
just
the app.
me over there.
Like it was actually like kind of opening up a different pane, a different window inside of the app. Where here it's actually split into like a picture-in-picture view. It's actually
Yeah.
quite nice. Okay, we're fawning.
It's very
over.
nice. Yeah, I'm just curious if that works on an iPhone, but an iPad, that's slick as hell. That's nice.
Yeah, let's see here. Let's go to Maps. Looking for traffic, Apple Park. Apple Park. Where's Look Around? Oops. Cancel. Yeah, it's the same thing. So, like, can you see how you got the map down here and then the Look Around view up here?
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Very cool.
Okay, something else is kind of really impressive too. Actually, this is kind of nuts to me. I'm looking at a elementary school on my map that's like a block for me,
Okay.
and I chose this location because there's a few things that I'm like, there's a baseball field there, there's a playground, there's like 2 buildings like around the school, and it has all of that. It has the baseball diamond featured in not the satellite view, in like the traditional map view. It has
Mm-hmm.
the baseball diamond. It has the 3D model of the school that is shaped exactly like that school is shaped. They have the basketball courts, they have the cutout for the playground, and they also have a separate cutout for the basketball court next to the playground as like 2 separate things. How did they get this kind of detail in such a small town like this? Are they analyzing a satellite photo and then interpreting from there? Like, that's just really impressive to me. That's
They're watching.
nuts.
They're watching you. I just want to say that.
They invented time travel. They did it all in 1 year via time travel.
Tim is right now piloting the little drone saying, "Where's Holden?" So I think you're right. I think they take that and it's derived from the satellite view, and maybe they have some type of mapping algorithm that says for these type of objects, when you see these structures with these type of characteristics, put this type of step back. There's 4 different views. There's Explore, Driving, Transit, and Satellite. So they probably start with satellite view and then maybe derive those other views from objects that they find on satellite view.
Yeah, it's the only way I can see them doing that. Yeah, because yeah, gosh, even looking at another field that's pretty close to me, they got the baseball diamond exactly where the baseball diamond is. They have the tennis courts exactly where the tennis courts are. Like, this is really impressive. This is cool.
It is super impressive. You are absolutely right. Oh wow, look at that.
Yeah, the movie theater. It has the exact same shape as the movie theater. Wow.
Oh wow, what is that? I'm looking at the map. I'm like, oh wow, what is that? Oh, that is there. That's right. So I think it's just really just good news all around in terms of, you know, how Maps is being presented. And I don't think Maps was like, what's the right word? I don't think Maps was lacking in any kind of substantial way. I think there's all these things are just kind of making it better in terms of overall kind of completeness of the product.
Yeah.
Now, there are 2 things that we haven't talked about that I would love to talk about. One is car keys, home keys inside of HomeKit, which I'm super floored about. And the other one is cameras in HomeKit as well. Now I am all in on HomeKit. I'm all in on home automation. At least I try to be, because I want to automate as many things as I can, and the ability to unlock my door by proximity, by real proximity, is I think a game changer. And I'm hoping that this comes out. I hope many different smart locks support it. Though I think it'll
Do
probably
you
be a
think there's
tough.
going to be new hardware you have to get in order to support that, or would it work with existing locks? I feel like new hardware would be necessary.
Yeah, so I think new hardware would be necessary. Um, that or like I guess most locks don't have ultra wideband built into them already, right? That's something that's brand new and it's
Yeah.
probably very expensive. Um, and I think there's only a few manufacturers that are putting ultra wideband chips inside their devices. Excuse me. So I think that Apple's probably going to figure a way to not reverse engineer, but a way to communicate ultra wideband proximity to devices that don't have ultra wideband radios in them. Right.
Hmm.
So I think that's what they would have to do. I don't think the what is it? Do AirTags actually have a U1 chip in them?
I actually don't think that they do. I think that was one of the things that was kind of surprising about them is they didn't have U1 chip. Let me look that up. U1.
Yeah. If they don't, so it does. Each AirTag
Oh no, it
includes.
does. It does.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. Like I would be wondering, or I'd be curious to know, like, is Apple even going to license this out to hardware manufacturers at this point? It seems like it might be a little bit early, but who knows?
They have
I
to.
really
That's what we'll see.
well, like, what was the example? Like today, at least it seems that there's many different keyboard cases for the iPad Pro. And there's really only two or three that offer the smart dock connector. Like Apple doesn't license the technology out to anybody. There's a number of different manufacturers that make smart locks, but how are you going to do that at scale and license out that technology or license out access to the hardware and all those things? It just seems like it would be very early, especially when they want to sell phones that have U1 chips in them. I don't know. Uh,
Yeah.
just thinking about that, like the iPad, the smart dock connector is
If
not
you're
really
trying to manufacture all these different chips and put them in all these different products,
exactly.
yeah. Especially with the chip shortages happening in manufacturing and this stuff is pretty tight right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm like, yeah, like Rain Man. So that is the last of things that I really love, and it's all like 18 of them that I love a lot. Anything else that you want to add there?
We haven't talked about universal control yet.
We haven't. So I have not actually had the opportunity to see it in action other than the demo,
Mm-hmm.
and the demo is super impressive.
It
Where
is, yeah.
so this is how I understand it. Let me know if my understanding is incorrect. So you can take, your Magic Keyboard, right? Your Apple Magic Keyboard, your Magic Mouse, your Magic Trackpad, and you can control more like your Mac, more than one Mac, your iMac, your MacBook, and your iPad, all with the single set of peripherals, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it kind of seamlessly goes in between devices. Now, first of all, is my understanding correct?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, it seems a lot like the feature that Logitech has called Flow. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. So like Logitech,
No.
they
I know
they
they
have
have the buttons to switch different devices, and you can
yeah.
just switch to a device with a button click.
If you have a
Is that
Logitech
what you're talking
mouse,
about?
well, it's a little bit different. If you have a Logitech mouse, and a keyboard, they offer the software that basically you install on two devices and allows you to drag and drop between two different devices that might not even be the same operating system. So it'll work that way. Um, I guess what has you so excited about Universal Control, Holden?
So kind of talking about how I'll use my desktop for something work or school related, and
Mm-hmm.
then just having my iPad aside for notes. I would like to use Sidecar on my iPad more often, but I don't like Sidecar. I don't like viewing the Mac operating system on this tiny little like iPad. I want to look at my iPad stuff on my iPad, and it just seems super seamless. And the only concern that I had has been alleviated already. And my concern was that I use an external Philips monitor, and my Mac is like tucked away to the side, and I'm like, well, I don't want to. Is it going to play off of my Mac and think that my Mac is over here in this different direction, so I have to like swipe differently because they're not side by side in that way? And like, how do they communicate with each other? How does it know where to pull the mouse from, that kind of stuff? And then I found out how that works, and I'm like, oh, it's not gonna be a problem at all. It basically guesses. So if you go to drag something and you drag to the left of your screen, it basically just says, "Oh, we know you're dragging to a new window to the left of your iPad. So we're or to the left of your Mac." So they'll position the arrangement of your monitors just based on how you move your mouse over. There's no like cloud or Wi-Fi or Bluetooth syncing between them at all, to get the mouse necessarily to know where everything is positioned. Obviously, it uses those technologies to sync the information across, but not the position of where everything is. So the fact that I have this monitor that's not made by Apple isn't a factor at all. I think that's really impressive how like it just kind of works like that. Um, it's also a continuation of technologies that already work really seamlessly. It is working off of handoff and continuity and things that have been ingrained in the Mac, or just all Apple OSs now for years.
Yeah.
So I know it's not built in right now. I can't do it in a beta, but I have like no concern that that's going to be a feature that's. I think it's going to be very seamless. Is my point. I have no concern it won't be.
Hmm. So, do you know if it will work from? Do I have to be start on a Mac, or will it work with an iPad and I guess maybe two different iPads, or do you know that yet?
I think it has to start from a Mac, but I don't know. I'm kind of just spitballing there, to be honest.
Okay.
Let's see
So,
if I can.
so that's great. I think the, the the challenge there is that the Magic Mouse sucks, plain and simple, right? It's like the worst ergonomic mouse in the world, and I don't know how anyone uses it. I think it would be really great if it comes to the iPad and you could use, like, if I can just take my Magic Mouse and then it magically pairs or syncs with my iPad, because often I find myself using my iPad and I wish I still had a mouse for kind of more precision controls. I'm just
Mhm.
looking at.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. So I found this article from The Verge. I'll send it to you. It explains it. So yeah, so what it does is it uses Wi-Fi direct between the Mac and the iPad,
Okay.
and it uses Wi-Fi direct between the Mac and the iPad. And when you do the drag thing, again, like it assumes, okay, you want to drag to the left, so your iPad's probably to the left, and then it knows on the iPad through Wi-Fi direct, okay, incoming mouse, bring it on the right side of the screen because they would naturally come from that direction.
Okay. Hmm. I wonder if that would work between a Mac and an Apple TV.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Hmm.
Because like sometimes you want to watch something on your TV while you're working on your Mac, you can just drag it around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Like,
see why not. Why wouldn't it work that way?
yeah. Hopefully it does. Another cool thing that we didn't talk about, a cool thing, was the ability to use your Mac as an AirPlay target.
Yeah.
So I could send music to, like, now that Apple is really, now that they've announced, high res music, you can now play music from your, your iMac, your Mac Mini, whatever the case is. Mac Mini speakers are horrible. You never want to do that. Your iMac, your MacBook, and it'll sound halfway decent. Let's see
Yeah.
here. Just reading. I'm perusing the article you sent. Yeah, this is cool. I wonder if this is their. I wonder if this feature would be sought after in the business context. Like, do business owners want this? And it seems like there's a lot of features this year, with focus modes and being able, now you could sign into your device both from you can have a personal iTunes account or Apple ID and a one associated with a work ID. It seems like they're making a lot of features that are not geared towards, but maybe would be welcomed by business owners or people that have Macs deployed in the enterprise.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. I do know that my dad works in IT, and he tells me that the executives at his company all use iPad Pros now with a Magic Keyboard. Like that's just their go-to device
Yeah.
because you travel a lot and it's easy to travel with that. So it would make total sense that you have your iPad to carry around with you, and then you have an iMac at your office,
Mm-hmm.
and you can just seamlessly work between the two. iCloud Drive syncs the files across the two, so you have that parity across both of those devices. Yeah, I think that absolutely would make sense. You just put your iPad in your desk and you can work between them.
It just works, right?
It just works.
It just works. It just works. Another possible show title. Uh, Anything else that you want to talk about in terms of iOS, iPadOS, tvOS?
I'm trying to think now. I think that covers the most of the things. One thing, the Apple Watch update wasn't huge, but it does have multiple timers now, which I am so happy to see that
Finally.
coming.
7 years later.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Finally. Yeah.
So the one thing I've noticed about the watch, where it's going to reflect back on my first comment, the UI and the font size seem misplaced. Like the UI size, it seems very small.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm like, why would you want? Like it seems like it's almost. I don't have any type of dynamic text turned on or anything like that. And sometimes I look at the notification, I'm like, wow, that is super small. And it makes me think, like, are they going to introduce a third size, a larger watch face? Because that would make, that would make sense. Let's do good, better, best for watches now, because we do that. We do that for everything. But other than that, like the demo of the HomeKit stuff working on the watch was like really great. I haven't got it to work in that kind of seamless manner. And
How
that's
if you
really
browse that again? I forgot what they did there.
So it's where the HomeKit is. It actually did work very quickly at that point. It's where the HomeKit, all the accessories they're like quick reconnect. Like it doesn't take like an hour for them to refresh. The big pain point. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Oh, wait, let me see your shirt. It says Deserted Island.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. I have something very similar to that.
Yeah. Ripping Animal Crossing. Gotta rip Animal Crossing.
Rep Animal Crossing. So that's the one thing. It looks like it's fixed. Like it took maybe about 10 or 15 seconds, and I now have all of my different accessories kind of lit up on here. Oops. Just turn off.
Yeah, that is one thing about Apple Watch is I forgot. I think who's the head of Apple Watch software? I forgot his name.
Kevin Johnson, Kevin something.
Yeah, Kevin something. He was saying that everything in the Apple Watch needs to be done within 2 seconds. I'm like, that's fair, because you need to use it quickly, otherwise it defeats the purpose. And HomeKit is the only thing that I would really love to do in my Apple Watch, but it's just not worth it because it takes too long for everything to connect. In fact, I hope they bring that kind of quick activation to every device, because I feel like HomeKit's kind of slowed down for me, even on my phone.
Kevin Lynch.
So
sorry.
I would like it everywhere. Kevin Lynch, yeah.
Yeah.
He used to work at Adobe. He headed Flash development, and how it's funny he's at Apple.
Yeah, that's super funny.
Or Macromedia, sorry.
Macromedia, that's right.
Yeah.
I think that the HomeKit stuff on Apple Watch just seems like it's not. Like it seems like Apple themselves don't know what their strategy is on Apple Watch for HomeKit. Like I would think that this year we might see some form of like precision location come to the watch. So when I say turn on the lights in here, or when I walk into a room, if the lights aren't on, the lights automatically go on in that room if they're not already. Like, and I just don't see that type of like cohesiveness with the Apple Watch, because many times I don't know about you, but when I'm at home, I might not have my phone in my pocket like I normally do throughout the day. I might just have my watch on me, and that's the thing. Like I want to turn on my lights in a room, and I have to. It's not easy, in my opinion. I did want to tell you
Yeah, no,
one.
that's fair.
Yeah,
My
no,
bet is the U1 chip, integrating U1 chips into everything.
yeah,
So U1 chips and light bulbs, all that stuff. Anyway, sorry, I cut you off.
no. I cut you off. I did want to tell you two things that I did. Um, I'm sorry, that was a delivery notification. Why is it not on mute? Just stupid focus.
It's the wrong focus right now.
Yeah, it's on my Mac. That's why. Um, 1 second. Focus display. Do not disturb. 1 hour. Okay. So two things. I hooked up. I have two regular size HomePods, and I hooked them up to my Apple TV and use them in a stereo mode. They sound fantastic. Like I want to get rid of my Sonos now because it doesn't sound as good. It sounds that fantastic when you have the two HomePods as a paired with your Apple TV. It sounds great. That's the first thing. I don't know if you I know you have an Apple TV and I know you have a HomePod, but if you ever have the chance, if you pair the HomePod in the same room, you could like put music out to it, and it sounds great. That's something I was just trying. Excuse me. And it's great because it will support Dolby Atmos. Now on the regular HomePods, the new HomePod Minis will support Dolby Atmos, I think sometime later this year. So that's really great. And
Yeah, that sounds good.
the second thing was I bought one of those. Well, the second thing I can't tell you. I have to show it to you. It's not really, it wouldn't make sense, and I don't have it with me. It's basically a little sleeve for the Apple TV remote. I don't know why I'm holding my iPhone in my hand. It's a sleeve for the Apple TV remote, and if you wanted to, you could put a location beacon or an AirTag inside of the sleeve, so you always find your remote. It's kind of hard for me to describe to you. But
No, yeah, that sounds nice. Yeah.
Yeah, because I always lose my Apple remote, always. And since the new one doesn't have the U1 chip in it, and you can't do that kind of location or precision tracking, it's a way of at least figuring that out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Anything else, Holden, that you want to add or want to talk about?
I think that is all the big features of iOS 15. I think a lot of people are saying this is a lackluster update, but I disagree. I think that
I totally
this is a
disagree.
really solid update.
Yeah.
I think this kind of continues that idea of all the devices are integrated, and I think that what the big deal here is that all these features are basically available on every single platform
Mm-hmm.
seamlessly and cohesively, and that's a really big deal. I mean, this is why we like Apple products, why we are in this ecosystem in the first place, and iOS 15 I think has lived up to that more than any other iOS update I can think of. If you think about, I mean, outside of maybe continuity and handoff, but if you think about universal control, seamless across iPad and Macs, you think about Focus being seamless across all Apple devices, the integration of FaceTiming across your iPad, but then syncing it to content you're watching on your Apple TV. It's like this is kind of like what we have invested in this platform for, is these
Yeah.
exact kind of features. And I think that iOS 15, Monterey, and iPad OS 15 all play into that in a much bigger way than usual. So I think these are really solid updates.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think that um, I think people who have this dislike or they're maybe not won over by the what came out of WWDC, just there's context missing for them, right? The updates are not contextualized in a way that might be meaningful to them, and it's very hard to separate the signal from the noise. So, like we just talked through, like there's many different features that are useful, that can be useful to any a broad number of people, just depending on who you are and what device you have with you, because they're available on every device, like you pointed out. You can take advantage of all these features or take advantage of these features on many different devices, and they all kind of work the same way no matter what device you have, which is great. And I've never noticed this before. You mentioned Maps. Does Let me say this a different way. Can you use your iPad in CarPlay I don't know. I have CarPlay, but I've never actually tried to do this.
Yeah, I never tried to do it either. I have a Wi-Fi only iPad, so I
You'd
wouldn't
have
want
to,
to do that.
yeah. Hmm.
But yeah, if you have a cellular iPad, why not? Like, oh, I need to charge my iPad. My iPhone's fine on battery. My iPad's not. I want to charge it while I'm driving.
Yeah.
You would want the same content, and I can't imagine that it's really that taxing to have CarPlay on an iPad in terms of like storing the
No.
CarPlay assets. It's using probably the same logic that's on the iPhone already for maps and music and all that. It's just changing the layout and the interface for it. So I can't imagine it actually takes that much space to hold all that. So yeah, why not?
Hmm. I will have to try that because I never
Yeah.
have. Um, okay, so Holden, other than that, since we're going to wrap up, where can everyone find you at?
I did think of one thing that's really important. I'm so
Oh,
sorry.
that's okay. Go ahead.
Safari and
Oh, yes, you're right, Safari.
tab groups
I hate it.
is. Oh, you do? Okay, I'm
Oh,
curious why.
no, no, no. I'll let you finish. I don't mean to rain on your parade. Go ahead.
No, so yeah, I'm the kind of person who I'll be looking into something and I have one window with just a bajillion tabs open, and then I will make another window because I want to focus on something else, but I don't want to use the other window I have that has so many tabs on it. And now I can basically categorize tabs. I'm like I'm so excited about that, and I've loved it on my iPad. It's actually kind of mitigated some of my use for bookmarks because I'll have like right now I have um, if I go to my Safari on my iPad, I have a tab group for video games, for documentation, for like Unity or C for Visual Studio C Sharp stuff, and then I have the Apple Tech like section broken down, and I just kind of keep certain sites that I use all the time opened up in those areas all the time, always. And it's kind of nice to kind of go back to them. It's like having a little workspace in Safari, like laid out. It's just, I love it. I absolutely love it. But I'm curious why you're not a fan.
So on the iPhone, so I guess my first gripe is that on the iPad, every time I close my tab groups, the same ones reopen on my iPad, and it just drives me nuts because I'm like, why are you keep reopening? I close these tabs specifically, so that drives me nuts. On the iPhone, I think it's hard to navigate the tab groups when you have your phone in landscape mode. So I often, if I'm using my phone to browse the internet for any like kind of meaningful amount of time, like more than a couple minutes, I turn my phone into landscape mode. That's just how I use it. The problem is that when I'm like trying to go from tab to tab, it just maybe because I have so many tabs open, I guess that could be the problem. Like it's just hard to like swipe and find the right tab. Like I'll click on the X or I'll click near the X and actually end up hitting it and I'll close the tab. I'm like, son of a gun, I didn't want to do that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I maybe hate's a strong word. Just like I said, I like everything that we've talked about. It's probably too far at the end of the spectrum. I just I don't use it how you do, and so maybe I'm probably have to rethink my workflows for Safari. But I mean, in ideally speaking, it does sound nice. It just I haven't found the right way to kind of put it into practice.
Let me check something here. I think I haven't used it landscape on an iPhone before. But let me just try something here. I'm gonna bring Safari into Sidecar for a second. I'll just open up Notes. I think that no, it doesn't. Yeah, so it'll kind of show on the bottom. It will show you the tab group you're in.
Okay, hold on. So I have Safari open. Uh, so the icon at the very far right hand side of the nav bar, is that the tab group you're talking about? The two
On the bottom,
rectangles?
it might say like if you start to scroll, it might show up. Or did
Okay.
you say it might show up on the bottom? It'll say like for me, it says video games on the bottom right now, and then done and plus button. But it might have arrows side to side for you instead because I think it's a slightly different view.
Yeah. So hold on one second here. So at the bottom, like where the navigation bar is, I see the navigation bar. I have the ellipsis, right? The the contextual menu, and then the I think it's what would be the share screen, right? The two rectangles. Now, if I swiped left to right, I see all the different tabs that I have open. I have not organized these tabs into tab groups, but it just I can swipe from left to right and keep going from these tabs.
Oh, okay.
The same way, like if you want to swipe an app at the very bottom, you can do that too.
Yeah. Just like so because I have multiple tab groups, I can see the name of the tab group I'm in the bottom, and if I tap on that, I can just jump to another tab group
Oh,
immediately.
okay.
When I'm in slide overview, when it kind of starts to look more like it does on an iPhone, I've noticed that. So I wasn't sure if that was the case for you as well. But I mean, it does seem like you can still use it exactly the same way as you did before, just by using because there's like basically like a default window essentially or default tab group that works exactly like a normal Safari window does, and then excuse me, and then you can create different tab groups outside of that.
Hmm. I'll have to play
The
with
only
some.
thing I don't like about the new Safari is the ellipses to access all the buttons. I get that it makes the top cleaner,
Mm-hmm.
but I do like accessing reader view. I use that a lot, and now there's like an extra step to get to reader view that I didn't have to worry
Mm.
about before. Outside of that, I really like this rendition of Safari.
So you know what you can do to get the reader view very easily. So instead of what I think you're doing is you're hitting this button and then going to reader view. If you actually just hold down on the ellipsis, I don't know why it's not working. I just did it. If you
Here,
hold
I'm
down on the
gonna
ellipsis, maybe they don't have a reader view.
let me go to an article.
Yeah. So if you hold down, like, if you hold down on the ellipsis, if I could do this for you while
Yep,
you're.
it does. Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome. That's what I'm here for.
Now Safari is the perfect browser.
Now, now it's the perfect browser. Well, we're
Now
almost
it's
there because
perfect.
they support these add-ons now or these extensions, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
We're one step closer to kicking Chrome out the door. I know you don't use Chrome that often, but I have to use Chrome.
Only for this. That's it. Yeah.
And I think that should work in Safari now, so you might want to check that next time because I'm told that it does work. But I wonder
Cool.
if
Yeah,
that's
I'll do that.
if it's never mind. Anything else, Holden, that you want to add?
I think that covers it now. Now that we've talked about the glorious tab groups. I mean, we could talk about iCloud Plus as well, very briefly.
So
Are
iCloud,
you excited for that?
I did sign up for it, and it is working. Though I've had some trouble with getting, I pay for one blocker. I don't know if you know what that is. It's an app that they have on the App
Mhm.
Store where it basically blocks ads and a number of different kind of undesirables within Safari. I had some conflicts with it working, so I don't know if I'd be able to articulate kind of the benefits of it. But if you know a lot about it, I'm more than happy to talk.
I don't. I don't know too much about it, but I think that the nice one for me is the having a VPN built in
Hmm. So it's not,
for
I know
really cheap.
it's not
It's not
actually
exactly a
a
VPN,
VPN. Yeah.
but it works very similarly. You couldn't do things like switching regions and things like that and saying, I'm actually browsing from Russia. You couldn't do that, but it anonymizes your traffic, which is, I think, a big reason to get a VPN.
Yeah.
So it doesn't cut out VPN services like NordVPN if you still want to be able to like watch Netflix from the UK.
Hmm.
You still need Nord for that, but I don't really care about that. I just like the privacy and the security, and this is why I get Apple products, as I like that security because that's also going to interfere with tracking and things like that, and
Yeah.
how these websites track you. So it's huge. It's a big deal.
It is huge. What is also, I think, included in iCloud Plus, which I might have actually mentioned, is that you now get the ability to record unlimited cameras. Where before you had
Yeah.
a 5 camera limit in in HomeKit, and now you have unlimited cameras, which is, I think, really great. The thing where maybe it's not clear, so should iCloud Plus be included for people that already pay for, Apple or what's it called?
Apple One.
Yeah, Apple One. Like it's
So they
99.
said that it's built. Yeah, they said it's built into your iCloud subscription already, and I
Okay.
feel like because that's already kind of bundled into Apple One, it
Okay.
is.
I felt like I had to pay the 99 cents for
They
it.
weren't exactly clear about that because I don't view it as like subscribing to iCloud. I view it as
Oh,
buying storage. So I think that it's just included when you buy storage, and that
okay.
is now just called iCloud Plus. I think
Okay. Well, then,
if it's not included in Apple One Premiere, that's strange to me.
yeah, I mean, it's only $1, but it's not the point. It's just an extra
Yeah,
dollar I have to give them, right? Like, I don't want to do that.
that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Like that's why it's got to be included in Apple One Premiere. Apple One Premiere is going to be where all the services go to. So I'd imagine it would be included in that as well. But I
Yeah.
don't know. We'll
Well,
probably
I
find
guess
out closer to September officially. But I
exactly.
think it. I think it is. I think it is. I'm pretty sure it is.
I hope so, because I don't want to give them any more money. Especially, yes, I don't want to give them more money. Holden, where can everyone find you at?
I am at Twitter at Holden DePardo. I'm also on a video game podcast called Respawning Fire, which is on Twitter at Respawning Fire.
Awesome, Holden. Thank you very much for joining me. Everyone, thank you very much for listening. We will talk to you in the next one. Holden, have a great night.
You too.